Welcome to 2C40 Gaming, where we are just too chill for debating games. We're just here to have fun. I'm T Lindsay B, and this is my third 150 mod load order for Skyrim on Xbox. I made sure to keep it compatible with both special and anniversary editions. As always, I'm going to go through each and every mod one by one so you know what they do and how they'll impact your game. I'll always focus on performance and FPS, but try to do full vanilla overhauls. This will be a long video, but worth it. So I'll leave timestamps if you want to skip around. Let's get into it. So first we have USSEP, or Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch, which fixes a lot of problems from the vanilla game, and many other mods do require this Masterfile, which when you download it will go to the very top of your load order. Next we have Reforging to the Masses, which adds about 300 new weapons to the game. You can craft them, and you will also find them in leveled lists, which means they'll be on enemies and in loot chests. Next we have Skyrim Landscape and Water Fixes, which is another master file that when you download it will go to the top of your load order. It will make your shorelines and water's edges look really smooth and natural and not pixelated like PS2. Vanilla Plus does quite a few things. If you read the description, there is a long list of bug fixes, quality of life changes, there's restored content. It is like a mini overhaul to a lot of the gameplay. It's a preference thing, but I do highly recommend Vanilla Plus if you kind of want your experience tweaked a little bit so that it doesn't feel so much like the vanilla experience. Actually improved in many ways. Then we have Main Menu Replacer. This is the Valley concept art version. I have new main menu music by Jason Yang, and we even have new Tavern music replacer, TREBLE CLEFAS, which only changes the music inside Tavern, so you get a fresh feel for in your ends. My HUD is Oblivion preset pastel map markers. This is my favorite. I just like the layout of it, plus we get the pastel map markers all in one. We have new loading screens. Starlit Lakes version adds over 100 new loading screens. We have HQ PERK interface, more planets, which makes our PERK tree screen look a lot nicer. My next two mods are just basically making the map look better. So we have a quality world map, so we have an HD map, and clear maps, which removes the cloud so that we can see the mountains and roads on the map better. I always like the enemy health indicators, which puts a little health bar above the heads of enemies, gives it that arcadey feel.
There you are.
Looking for a fight?
Come on, killing you make for an excellent story.
R.A.S.S shaders and effects is kind of like wet and cold. It allows us to see frost and water on our bodies, as well as see us blow our breath in the cool air. WILDCAT Combat of Skyrim is our enemy AI overhaul. This is the most popular one on Xbox to make our enemies a little bit more challenging. This time around, I'm using enhanced blood textures because I love the blood splatter on the screen when you're in combat. The last load order I did was just blood and dirt light, which is only a couple of megabytes, like 2 something, and you get blood splashes, but it's just a little easier on your frame rate. But I'm gonna go with this version this time around. It's a lot more bloodier, I guess. There's pools of blood all over the ground and stuff like that. Just blood and dirt light doesn't do that. This next group is pretty much retextures of some of the monsters and creatures in the world. We have BRIRAKA'S DRAUGR overhaul, which is going to add a ton of new DRAUGR bosses. It's going to redesign some of the DRAUGR bosses as well. And instead of having ebony weapons, they're going to have Stalrim gear and weapons, which I guess is more lore accurate. There is a list of changes of all of the DRAUGRs that this affects. Next, we have a Feast of Falmer. So we're going to get a new feel for our Falmer now. They're going to be more challenging. There's going to be new Falmer models and textures. We're going to retexture the weapons and armor here. There's going to be new enemies like the 3-Kreen Warrior, which is a giant monster that's going to roll with them, and 4 variants of undead snow elves. There's more to encounter in the dungeons now. We have the Divergence Giants 1K, which is going to give our giants in the world a new look. You'll also notice that I'm using a lot of 1K or 2K mods, basically to save on file size, but many of these mods have 2 and 4K versions, so just do what's best for your gameplay and your system. Next, we have Wolves of Skyrim, which is going to make a more diverse look to our wolves. They're going to look more realistic and fluffy. The dogs in the world are now huskies, except for Barbas because he gives us a quest. We have Block Sparks Neo Flash, which basically makes it so that our weapons, when we hit solid objects, sparks will fly everywhere. Elsopa's new enchantment texture is just for our enchanted weapons. They'll get a light glow and a new texture on the metal. I love Elsopa stuff. All their high definition retextures and redesigns are really nice. I'll be using them a lot in this load order. Wearable lanterns let both your player and your followers wear lanterns in caverns and dungeons so that you can keep your hands free for your weapons. Covered carriages is the only modification that I'm doing to carriages, since I don't use them that much, but it just adds a hood on the carriages so they look a little nicer. Extended encounters is a really small file that just allows you to add more people out on the roads. The more people you add, the more frame rate drop you get, so that's a moderate one. Instead of using immersive citizens at 6+ megabytes, I'm doing AI Overhaul 1.8.2 Lite. It does the same thing, but there are fewer nav mesh issues in the city. Another mod that saves your FPS a little bit. The people in the world still have a mind of their own and move around freely, but not so much as with immersive citizens. So it's just a modest version of it. Young Lovers, one of my favorite mods now. I had this in my last load order where it was about 57 megabytes, but in the last 24 hours, they've done an update. So now it's 95 megabytes, but it covers more voices. And there are more new lines of dialogue where you can romance a follower and just random people in the world that you want to have sexy talk with. It can be cringe. Sometimes it can be funny sometimes, especially if it happens during combat, but I love adding more dialogue and more immersion just to make the experience feel a bit more personal and realistic. So I highly recommend this mod. Next, we have a new mod to Xbox, which is J-Serpa's Quest Expansion Bundle. This adds a ton of dialogue as well to characters that usually don't say much. There's more dialogue from factions and really small quests that we get that are usually like fetch quests. They've been expanded now so that there's a little bit more to them, and they may actually be worth doing. We have Serana Expanded Dialogue add-on. For only 2 megabytes, you get about 100 new lines of dialogue from Serana, which is AI, by the way. There are other Serana dialogue mods out there. The biggest one is like 244 megabytes. I'm saving space, but if you got the room for it, go for the big one. This is just a smaller one because this load order is not as Serana heavy, I guess you want to say. So I recommend the smaller one if you're kind of indifferent, but go for the 244 megabytes, which adds 7,000 newly voiced lines for Serana to say. Pick your poison. We have more Tavern Idols. This just basically makes NPCs behave more naturally in taverns. We have Angs or Angie's Animals, which keeps predators from attacking you on sight and keeps prey animals from running away from you. We have Instincts Animal Taming, which if you have food in your inventory will allow you to feed animals, tame them, they'll follow you, they'll fight with you, and if they're big enough, you can ride them. We have Enhanced Atronachs with Leveled Luminosity, which will make the Atronachs stronger in combat and make them more resilient in combat, and they'll glow brighter, and definitely worth having as followers. Civil War patrols will increase a lot of the battles on the roads between the Legion and the Stormcloaks. Refined artifacts will greatly improve a lot of the Daedric weapons that you get via quests, making their minimum damage higher and improving their enchantments. Carriage stops of Skyrim will put benches around Skyrim that will allow you to fast travel to many different locations for a fee, but they'll take you places that the normal carriages won't. Ordinator improves our perk tree by adding 469 new perks compared to vanilla. 50% more perk points means that we will get significantly more perk points when we level up so that we can get OP faster. Amazing race tweaks Redguard. Just improves a lot of the perks for Redguard since I'm role playing as a Redguard. But amazing race tweaks is made for different races, so regardless, whatever player character you have, just get amazing race tweaks so that you get some extra perks. A side order of dragons. This is a really cool mod that doesn't cost much. It's less than 4 megabytes. And what it does is it delays dragon random attacks. It reduces dragon spawn rate from every 3 days in vanilla to every 7 days, gives dragons unique names, adds 26 unique named dragons, increases dragon variety from 14 in vanilla to 784. There's new dragon animations, and a lot more for less than 4 megabytes. Relaxed Survival is for those of you that want to play on survival, but you want it to feel a little bit different than vanilla, I guess. This is just adding tweaks and quality of life stuff. For example, you can fast travel right off the bat. It takes a lot of penalties away early so that playing on survival isn't as frustrating. There are a long list of changes. We have Epic Crab's Lawbringer Plus. This is not the original Lawbringer. This is Epic Crab's version. But what it does is it allows you to take over bandit camps and turn them over to whatever faction. Rich Merchants of Skyrim adds 10,000 gold to all of the merchants for you to trade with. Big Helmet's Combat Perks is one of my favorite mods because I don't like to play with a helmet, and this makes you a little bit stronger if you choose to play without a helmet, but it doesn't penalize you if you choose to play with a helmet. Big Jump 5x lets you jump 5 times higher. I like it because I can get to places I normally can't and scale mountains better. Violins, I typically use it to disable VATs so that I don't have to watch cinematic kill moves because it takes too long to watch finishers. I just want to move on with it. But there are a ton of different options and things that you could do to adjust kill moves in the game, or set decapitations or turn them off or whatever. Unlimited Shouts gives you an amulet after you learn to shout, which will let you eliminate the cooldown. Wear multiple rings means you can wear 10 rings and get all of the enchantments from them, where in vanilla you can only wear 2 rings. Another great quality of life mod is rewarding reading. What that does is it turns all of the vanilla books in the game into skill books. So now when you read them, you will level up significantly faster. So it's worth reading the books in the world now. NPC Clothes Changer and Maintainer gives you a ring, and it lets you walk up to pretty much any NPC in the world and change their clothes. Even Jarls, you can go in their inventory and take whatever you want out of their inventory without pickpocketing skills. They gotta wear what you give them. You can take their weapons.
Do you get to the Cloud District very often?
Or you can just leave them naked if you want to.
Of course you don't.
Non-quest locations for Stones of Baron Zaya just changes the locations of a few of the stones. Since I am remodeling the interior of some of the homes in the game, sometimes these mesh objects can disappear. This also makes it so that you don't have to join any factions to get access to the Stones of Baranziah. They've just been moved to an easier place. The next group of mods are my bypass mods. These are just for convenience, really. If you want to skip some of the long dungeons, you just go through a magic door, go to the end of the dungeon, complete the quest, go back through a magic door to the quest giver and be done with it, saving you about 25 minutes a dungeon. My Home is Your Home allows you to house any of your followers in any of the homes that you own. They will live there and you will know where they are when you dismiss them. Just to let you know, if you do use this, you need to look up Homie, H-O-M-I-E, to find this mod. It is not under My Home is Your Home. I don't know why, but you won't be able to find it if you don't look up Homie. The next two mods are just basically for adoptions. Hearthfire multiple adoptions let you adopt up to 6 kids, where improved adoptions improves their AI with each other and as well as with your spouse. Plus they can follow you now and travel to other towns. Lean Wolf's better shaped weapons makes it only affects vanilla weapons, but it affects all the weapons, reshaping them, making them more tactical, more practical. It gives them a new look, and it's a small mod that makes it so I don't have to use some huge weapons bundle. And since I'm role playing as a red guard, I have Farinelli's Hammerfell Armory, which adds like 19 new schmitters and shields for my red guard player. And for the armor, I have Red Guard Noble Armor, which is the best armor I can find. It has a really high minimum armor rate, and it's 5 stars, and it looks nice. For NPC clothing, I'm using elaborately opulent textiles, which gives all of the common and noble clothes a nice sheen and leather look to it. And it's only 60 megabytes, and it also affects mage robes. So mage robes are not just one bland solid color, they have a really nice look to them as well. I have opulent outfits to complement it. 1K monks and necromancers, there's a higher resolution for these. So instead of the pea yellow robes that monks usually wear, they get something a little bit more designer looking, and necromancers have badass robes as well with skulls on the back. Better Shrouded Armor replaces the Brotherhood of Steel skin tight bodysuits with something that just looks more appropriate. We have new armor for Stormcloaks. We have new armor for the Legion. Any banners and shields 1K resolution. There's also a higher option. Just makes nice banners for towns and villages to represent them, as well as gives all of the hold guards new shields, nicer shields. Just something to, like I said, make the world look nicer, make interiors look nicer as well. Since I'm role playing as a vampire hunter, I have Crusader, a Dawn Guard bundle. This makes the Dawn Guard castle look nicer. There's an overhaul for it. They have new armor, they have new weapons, there's new dialogue options for them, new dialogue for Serana. And now you can join them initially as a vampire, and they won't just attack you and cut you off immediately like they would normally do, and many other new things. We have new armor for the companions, Woven Armor Replacer. I tried to just replace armor predominantly for the factions that I know I would be interacting with the most. We have cloaks, face masks, and all sorts. This is the smallest file size cloaks mod out there, and it gives you a ton of extra things, including face masks, bandanas, goggles, book carrying cases, bandoliers, satchels, and a couple of other things I can't think of, but there's a lot here. We have Elsopa's HD shields, which changes the vanilla shields to a new design and higher resolution. The same thing with Elsopa quivers. They have been completely redesigned. We have auto unequip shields to back so we can wear shields on our back. We also have a patch for back shields and cloaks, which makes it so that they don't clip so much. Same thing with well-placed weapons and quivers, so our weapons and quivers don't overlap on our backs. The next group of mods are SMIM'd, or static mesh improvement mods, which just makes clutter and furniture objects and other objects just look nicer. I'm using Lucid AP's High Poly project, which covers quite a few things, from food and ingredients to plates and pottery and hay and ropes, and a lot of other random items in our environment are now HD and much nicer. This is a 1K version. You can get SMIM'd that are 4K if that's what you like. I have Skyland furniture. Sky King makes some awesome stuff because everything he does is literally photorealistic. Scan photorealistic stuff. So I like this furniture mod. It changes common furniture, noble furniture. It does countertops for merchants and bars. It does stools. Covers a lot of things. The furniture looks really nice. Also, I'm using Skyland enchanting tables, which also covers alchemy tables. So they're completely redone and they look nice. Realistic blacksmith overhaul gives us new tanning rack, workbench, grindstone, and anvil, and they look very realistic. And I'm complementing that with animated forge water because usually the forge water just looks like a rectangle of black paper, and now it actually moves. It uses your active water mod. We have new potions and poison bottles by SLD. And we have new pretty soul gems, 1K resolution, colorful, and they're really glittery. And once again, just adding things to the world that I interact with a lot and make them look much nicer. In addition, we have HD unique handmade signs by R.A.S. So all of the merchant signs and tavern signs in the world are now completely unique of each other. They're very colorful. Some of them aren't colorful, but they are handmade. So some of them look very professional and perfect. Others look like kids drew them with crayons, but it's just to give each a very distinct realistic look, like a completely different person made the signs. Definitely worth it to make the world look nicer. And the last two mods in this category are specifically for Solstheim. This is for Solstheim furniture. If you read the descriptions, they both go together and go together well. Adds 2D and 3D ropes. New staff enchanters, Telmithrin door furniture sets are completely retextured, all in 2K. Now for my nature mods, I always get FOS Forests of Skyrim. I put that above my tree or forest mod. It adds over 1,900 trees to the Riverwood and Falkreath area specifically. Quick note everyone, I did not add a specific tree mod to this load order. I wanted to leave you guys the opportunity to choose your favorite. Mine is Traverse the Overhaul. And our friend Kit Rider reminded me on YouTube that it goes very, very well with Perpetual Meadows, which is a grass overhaul, and adds all 3D flora to the world. So if you want to put Traverse the Overhaul above Perpetual Meadows, combining the two will greatly beautify your forest and is well worth it. Vivid Weather's Definitive Edition is one of my favorite weather mods because I love the storms. Very realistic loud storms. And I'm supplementing Perpetual with Kind's Grass, which has more versatile looking grass because Perpetual Meadows only has one kind of grass. Landscape fixes for grass mods is necessary. But I'll tell you this, I'm probably the only person you'll ever see on YouTube that puts this dead in the middle of my load order. But it works. It works here, trust me. It's where it needs to be, below my grass mods and above other mods that it needs to be above. And what this does is it keeps excessive grass from showing up in your landscape where it shouldn't be. You'll know that if you go without it, the roads might look overgrown, but when you add it, the roads are clearer. It eliminates a lot of excess grass, which actually does improve your FPS. And for our cities and towns, this is typically the longest module in my load order because I love changing the way the world looks. First, we have JK's Whiterun Outskirts, which expands the farm area outside of the hold of Whiterun with new buildings and structures. We have a really teeny tiny mod that does something substantial by restoring Whiterun's gates and walls, which are completely absent in vanilla. So it looks like the outside of Whiterun is built back up. We also have the Autumn of Whiterun No Lanterns, which adds beautiful autumn trees outside of Whiterun's gates, as well as throughout the inside of the city. The No Lanterns version is the one I recommend because there's less tree clipping with a lot of the clutter that's added by JK Skyrim. I always use JK Skyrim all-in-one to give a fresh look to the exterior of all the towns and small villages that it covers. I like JK's because they only use vanilla assets, once again, which is a small file size and really good on your FPS. And to add on, we have the Great City of Solitude, which only affects the outside of the City of Solitude, and it expands on the docks with new boats and ships and buildings and NPCs. There's two versions of it. I like the 5.07 megabyte version. The road from Solitude down to the docks just looks nicer to me. There's like, I think, a 5.23 megabyte version, which is a little bit more cluttered outside of the Solitude gates. I don't like it as much, but you just pick the version you like. They're both made by the same person, Soldier of War. We have CLEFAS Karth Weston, a complete overhaul of the mining town, which was pretty bland until they added more buildings, added more shops, more NPCs, and just made it look a lot nicer. CLEFAS does a lot of enhanced areas. I highly recommend their mods. And what I'm doing here with all of these JK standalone mods is I usually use their all-in-one interior, their bundle, but for whatever reason, it's broken. Like, places in Whiterun just look really bad. I couldn't find a patch for it. I couldn't find a fix. Switching it around in my load order, maybe there's an update or a patch on its way. But JK's all-in-one interiors is not working properly. And I didn't want to add it and tell you guys to just overlook a couple things because I know how much that can negatively affect immersion. So I just found some individual mods that cover some of my favorite JK's interiors and I added them here until they get like an update or a fix. In addition, I supplemented them with Better Interiors, which is compatible to JK's, but Better Interiors primarily just affects tavern interiors. So a lot of the small taverns in the little towns that all look exactly the same now have a fresh new look to them. And I'm supplementing these changes with Your Vasker Enhanced. This is not by JK, but I found a mod that gives the inside of Your Vasker a new look. It's one of the locations that were broken by JK's interiors all in one. So it's completely just, it has new rooms, new stuff. It's just a nicer looking Your Vasker interior. And I went back old school with Magical College of Winterhold. You can't go wrong with this mod. The College of Winterhold looks great with it. I usually use JK's version, but like I said, there were issues. R.A.S.S or R.A.S, kind of like CLEFAS, does a great job of just expanding locations and making them nicer and full of life. Sarthal looks like a real excavation site with workers and new buildings and all kinds of things going on around the area. Ren's Western Watchtower, where we fight the first dragon in the game, you can actually visit it before the dragon battle, and it's an actual watchtower that you can go inside of. There's multiple entrances, and then after, it might be on fire, but it's still an actual watchtower after the dragon fight. Ren Standing Stones overhauls all of the Guardian Stone locations. There's lots of surprises there. You never know what you might find. Tactical Vault Time is the most famous bandit camp in the game, one of them anyway, and now it's been made better by Epic Crab. There are more enemies there, and it's a larger it's a larger tower, and you can turn it over to whatever faction you want thanks to Lawbringer Plus. Lampposts of Skyrim adds over 250 lampposts to the roads so we can see our way at night. Ancient Roads, Lands, and Ruins adds Nordic ruins all throughout the roads and huge monoliths everywhere for you to check out. Bridges of Skyrim adds 30 unique bridges, well basically overhauls the bridges and 30 of them in Skyrim. Darkwater Crossing is another little mining town that just had a few tents and a house. Now it's expanded with more houses and another farm, and those NPCs have a place to live, and if you were to marry one of them, you can live in those houses. The next few mods are just for Solstheim. Quaint Raven Rock makes the town of Raven Rock, which you visit when you first get there, look nicer. Expanded Tel Mithrin, that little area is an actual town now rather than just a few homes. Eruption What Eruption is a landscape texture overhaul. So now instead of just being a desert oasis, there are trees and grass. It uses whatever tree and grass mod that you have installed. TNF Skyrim house remodels all of the vanilla houses and DLC houses you can obtain on the inside, making them bigger, adding more rooms, adding more furniture, adding more clutter, etc. Nordic Jarl Longhouses is an overhaul of the longhouses in 4 holds, making them bigger, substantial, and just making the town look nicer. The interiors are unchanged, they're still small. Dawnstar Estate is my favorite player home. It's in all of my load orders. I'm going to be doing a video of just that, giving you a tour. We have Clef J's house collection, which adds 8 houses throughout the world of Skyrim for you, and you don't need a key. You just walk in. If you're playing on survival, you can rest, eat, store stuff, whatever you need to do. I thought that'd be awesome for special edition players because Anniversary Edition adds more houses. Well, here you get 8 of them. We have Skyland All-in-One by the famous Sky King. More photorealistic awesomeness in the world. Better roads, better mountains, better caves, better dungeons, better ships and shacks, towns, villages, farmhouses, ice. Everything's basically been retooled. All DLC is covered as well, so all your architecture and landscape needs in one 1000 megabyte mod to make them look next gen. And we have El Sopa HD hand painted road signs. I love the colorful road signs, even though the Sky King gives us 3D road signs. I'm going to use the colorful version. That means whatever mod you want to overwrite what's in a different mod, you just put that mod underneath. So I have El Sopa's hand-painted road signs. And for my water mod, I'm using the OG Realistic Water 2, the most popular water mod out there. I usually use Dawn Waters at 29 megabytes, which is really nice. It's just really calm water. But Realistic Water 2 is loud. I like the sound effects. I like that it's faster running water, faster waterfalls. Just for the nature feel, I'm going with Realistic Water this time around. But if you want to save on space, get Dawn Waters and Waterfalls for 29 megabytes. For my audio, I'm going with Sounds of Skyrim Complete, where we get 460 plus new sound effects, interiors and exteriors. Bards for Jarls gives all 9 Jarls their own bard. This next group is pretty much just me adding people into the world and overhauling NPCs as well. We have Furpot the kitty and house cats, which add house cats everywhere. And Furpot the kitty is waiting for you in Dragon's Reach. If you talk to them, they will follow you. And since I'm role playing as a red guard, I have Dominions more red guards, which adds more red guards in Skyrim. Dominions makes this mod for every race, so depending on what you want, more dark elves, whatever. You can add more of that race into the world. You'll find them everywhere. They might be bards, they might be town guards, they might just be sitting in a tavern chilling, but they will follow you. R.A.S. Children Optimize improves the faces of the children so they look more realistic. Nephilim Body V8 is basically just like a sexier female body. over the top, but it doesn't work with armor. Dapper Deliveries improves our favorite courier. He's got a clean face, looks significantly different, clean clothes, and often carries a backpack or papers and looks like a delivery person. Our next few mods actually all work together to improve the look of most of the NPCs in the world, including DLC. Males and females, their face, their hair, skin, everything's gonna look nicer, a little bit more next gen. And then for our skin mod, smooth, clean skin, not hairy, we're gonna use Lover Girl skin and Lover Boy. I just happened to grab the 2K version of the Lover Girl and the 1K version of Lover Boy. It doesn't really matter. There's 4K versions as well. Natural Eyes is the smallest eye mod out there, and I like it the most because it makes everyone's eyes look realistic. They look like the color they're supposed to be, and just kind of matches the NPC, I think, without being over the top. Pyro Kittens is our Khajiit mod, which makes them significantly smaller with big fluffy tails and big, bright, glowing eyes. They're cuter, but they're still badass. And our racial body morphs mod, there's dozens of these mods out here. Pick any one. They all do the same thing. They just make each race a different height and body size. Like orcs are absolute giants in this, as they should be, and it's lore friendly. Gritty animations. Requiem is one of my favorite mods for changing our combat animations and stances, as well as idols when we're just like standing around. It affects NPCs as well. Victoria's high heel walk animation just gives a sexier walk to females, like they're modeling or on the catwalk. XP32 maximum skeleton and realistic ragdolls, and force mod is often required by a lot of other mods that affect body or movement, like our animation mods, and this just gives the ragdoll effect to NPCs. Head tracking is just something for immersion. You and the other characters in the game just kind of look in appropriate directions. Realistic conversations primarily just affects NPCs when they're talking to each other, so there's no gaps in the conversation and the topics typically make sense. Just improved flow for immersion and conversation. We have landscape fixes, which goes with our grass mod fixes and our water fixes. They all work together to just try to make the landscape and water and grass lines just look more realistic and natural. My next two mods are part of our alternate start, so we can skip the vanilla starting sequence and start the game much quicker. And character creation overhaul lets us start our game a little bit more OP by picking birth signs and classes that are going to improve our skills. Like we can be a crusader or a rogue or an archer or a barbarian or whatever, and we get like 6 or 7 different boosts to our abilities before we start the game. Amazing follower tweaks. This is the original version, which allows us to have up to 5 followers with us, not including 5 animals. There's also the immersive amazing follower tweaks version, which now allows us to have up to 30. I like this mod because, like I said, I consider my FPS. I don't plan on having more than 5 followers with me at all anyways, so I just have the original version. Then we have relationship dialogue overhaul. This adds, I think, over 5,000 lines of completely voiced dialogue for NPCs, which just makes engaging with people in the world and your followers a lot more interesting. And like I said, I love to add immersion and change the way the world looks. That mod also requires a patch with amazing follower tweaks. And we have Bijan all-in-one and USSEP patch. I don't know what this does, but all I know is I don't want any of my NPCs to have weird faces or like, you know how it is. So I have the patch. I just say don't go without it. And last but not least, we have FPS Eternal, which is going to improve our frame rate even better in the very busy cities and towns, and it demands the bottom of your load order like it says, and that's it. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for being patient and watching. As always, do what you do on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Your support is appreciated. I'll keep making videos for as long as I can. This is really fun. I love RPGs. That's what you need to know about me. So if you have any comments, have any questions, let me know. I will respond to you. So in the meantime, just enjoy gaming. Stay chill, everybody.